The satellites went dark first.
No warning, no malfunctions, they simply stopped transmitting.
Within hours, communications systems worldwide failed as the Caldari ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They appeared as massive black disks, hovering over major cities across the globe.
Commander Gene Park stood in the Arctic Chamber's control room, watching multiple screens as Tokyo, New York, and Moscow fell simultaneously. His hands gripped the console until his knuckles turned white.
Around him, the last remaining team of military scientists worked frantically.
"Sir, we've lost contact with the Pentagon," said Lieutenant Song, her voice breaking slightly.
"European command is gone too." Gene nodded grimly. He had anticipated this day, though he had prayed it would never come. The Chamber project had been his life's work, a last resort contingency if humanity faced extinction. 500 elite soldiers, enhanced with experimental gene therapy, placed in cryostasis beneath the Arctic ice. The world's governments had called him paranoid.
Now those governments no longer existed.
"Begin lockdown procedures," Gene ordered. "Activate the Omega Protocol."
Outside, the world burned. The Caldari weapons reduced cities to ash in minutes. Their technology was centuries beyond Earth's most advanced systems. Military bases were their first targets, followed by power plants and water treatment facilities. They were methodical, calculating, they weren't just invading.
They were exterminating.
In Seoul, Officer Min Soo tried to evacuate civilians as alien ground forces moved through the streets. Unlike their ships, the Caldari themselves stood only slightly taller than humans, with gray-blue skin and 4 arms.
They carried weapons that disintegrated their targets instantly. "This way!"
Min shouted, directing a group of terrified families toward the subway tunnels. A child stumbled, and Min rushed back, scooping the little girl into his arms. He turned just in time to see a Caldari soldier raise its weapon. The Arctic Chamber's communication array captured fragmented transmissions from around the world.
Gene watched helplessly as humanity's resistance crumbled. The American aircraft carriers, Chinese hypersonic missiles, Russian tactical nukes, nothing could penetrate the Caldari shields. "Final systems check complete," reported Dr. Hannah Lee, the project's lead scientist. "The stasis pods are functioning at optimal levels.
They can remain powered for up to 50 years.
"And the enhancements?" Gene asked. "The subject's cellular regeneration is still stabilizing.
We don't know how the extended cryostasis will affect the genetic modifications." Gene looked at the massive chamber beyond the glass wall. 500 pods, each containing a soldier who had volunteered for the experimental procedures. Super soldiers, they had called them in the beginning, though Gene hated that term.
They were humans pushed to the very edge of their biological potential. Enhanced strength, speed, healing, senses, but at what cost?
"We're receiving a global broadcast," Lieutenant Song announced suddenly. The main screen flickered to show a Caldari, its 4 arms held ceremoniously before it.
It spoke in perfect English. "People of Earth, your resistance has been eliminated. Your military forces have been destroyed. Your leadership has been terminated. This planet and its resources now belong to the Caldari Collective. Remaining humans will be processed according to protocol." Processed.
Gene closed his eyes briefly.
He knew what that meant.
"Sir," Song whispered, "we're getting reports of systematic sweeps through populated areas."
"They're not taking prisoners." The next weeks confirmed their worst fears. The Caldari moved methodically across the continents, hunting down survivors. Gene watched as the estimated human population counter dropped daily. Billions to millions. Millions to thousands.
1 month after the initial attack, the chamber detected a Caldari scout ship passing overhead. Gene made the final decision.
Complete the lockdown. Cut external communications and switch to passive monitoring only. Activate the autonomous revival protocol.
Dr. Lee looked at him with tears in her eyes.
"When should the system wake them?"
"When the human population drops below the extinction threshold, or after 20 years, whichever comes first." Jin's voice was steady despite the weight of his words.
The facility began its shutdown sequence. Backup power systems engaged as the main grid went offline.
The massive doors sealed, locking them away from the world above. In the final hours before the chamber went into hibernation mode, Jean recorded one last message for the soldiers who would eventually awaken.
If you're hearing this, then we failed to stop them. The world you knew is gone. But you were created for this moment. You are humanity's last hope. Remember your training. Remember your humanity.
And take back our world.
The lights dimmed as the chamber went dark, hiding humanity's final defenders beneath the ice while the Caldari claimed their empty victory above.
The steady hum of the chamber's backup generators had continued uninterrupted for 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days. Deep beneath the Arctic ice, the facility remained in hibernation mode, monitoring the world above through passive sensors. The extinction threshold counter ticked downward with each passing week as the Caldari's systematic purge continued across the planet. Until it crossed the final threshold. The chamber's systems activated with a soft whir. Emergency lights bathed the vast room of cryostasis pods in a gentle blue glow as the AI's voice echoed through the silent facility.
Extinction event confirmed. Revival protocol initiated. Captain Sujin Kim's pod was the first to begin the awakening process. The glass cover slid open as warm air rushed in, replacing the cryogenic atmosphere.
Sujin's enhanced body fought through the disorientation quickly, her modified cells reactivating much faster than a normal human's would. Her eyes snapped open, pupils adjusting instantly to the dim light. She gasped, drawing her first conscious breath in over 3 years.
"Welcome back, Captain Kim," the AI said. "Medical diagnostics indicate successful revival."
Sujin sat up slowly, checking her limbs. She remembered the enhancement procedures, the pain, the fever, the uncertainty. But now her body felt different.
Stronger. The experimental modifications had fully integrated during her long sleep. "Status report," she commanded, her voice hoarse from disuse. "Global human population below extinction threshold. Current estimate, fewer than 10,000 unprocessed humans remaining. Caldari occupation complete. Chamber integrity at 98%. Sujin swung her legs over the edge of the pod and stood carefully.
Her muscles should have been atrophied after years of stasis, but instead they felt taut and responsive. She walked to the central console and pressed her palm against the scanner.
"Show me what happened."
The screens lit up with archived satellite footage, cities burning, masses of people being rounded up, military bases obliterated.
Sujin watched without emotion as the world fell.
Her enhanced mind processed the information methodically, cataloging enemy capabilities, searching for weaknesses. Around her, other pods began their revival sequences.
Major Duhyun emerged next, followed by Lieutenant Tae-won.
Within an hour, 20 of the super soldiers were awake, each demonstrating the same accelerated recovery.
"The commander?" Sujin asked. The AI hesitated before responding. "Commander Park and the science team did not survive. Caldari forces breached the upper levels of the facility 4 months after initial lockdown."
The chamber's internal security measures were activated to protect this level.
Sujin nodded silently.
They had all understood the risks when they volunteered for the project.
She accessed Commander Park's final message and played it for the awakened soldiers.
As more pods opened, Sujin noticed something unexpected.
The enhancement procedures had been experimental, with many unknowns about long-term effects.
Yet it appeared the cryostasis had somehow stabilized the genetic modifications. Min-ho, who had suffered severe seizures after his enhancement, now moved with fluid precision.
Un-Seo, whose immune system had nearly rejected the modifications, now showed perfect integration. Medical analysis indicates complete adaptation of all genetic enhancements, the AI confirmed. The extended cryogenic state allowed cellular stabilization to occur naturally. "So we're better than expected," Major Duhyun said, examining his hands as he flexed them.
"We're exactly what Earth needs us to be," Sujin replied. By the end of the day, 50 soldiers had awakened. Sujin gathered them in the chamber's central hall, now transformed into a command center. The screens displayed current Caldari positions across the globe, concentrations of alien forces, and potential weak points. "We were created for this moment," Sujin told them. "When all other defenses failed, we remained. The world above believes humanity is defeated, but they don't know about us." She brought up the schematics for the chamber's armory. The weapons stored there had been designed specifically for their enhanced capabilities, lighter materials for their increased strength, advanced targeting systems for their enhanced senses. "Our advantages are surprise, superior adaptation to Earth's environment, and our enhancements," she continued. "The Caldari believe they've won. We will show them how wrong they are." Sergeant Jiho approached with a tablet. "Captain, I've been analyzing their communication patterns. They're overconfident, minimal encryption, standard patrol routes. They don't expect resistance." Sujin nodded. "Then we'll give them something they never expected." She highlighted a small Caldari outpost established near the surface, just 20 kilometers from their position. "We begin here, tonight. Small team, stealth approach. We need intelligence before we launch larger operations." As the other pods continued their revival sequences, Sujin felt a strange calm. The old world was gone. The humans who remained were scattered, hiding, broken. But here, beneath the ice, humanity's last defenders were awakening, not just soldiers, but something new. Something the Caldari had never faced. "Prepare for surface reconnaissance," she ordered. "It's time to remind our invaders that Earth isn't theirs yet." The Arctic night was piercing cold, but Lieutenant June felt nothing through his enhanced skin. The genetic modifications had adapted his body to withstand extreme temperatures without protection. He moved across the frozen landscape like a shadow, his white tactical gear blending perfectly with the snow. Behind him, 4 other soldiers followed in perfect formation, leaving minimal tracks despite their weight and speed. Their target lay 3 kilometers ahead, a small Caldari monitoring station built on what used to be a human research outpost. Even from this distance, June's enhanced vision could make out the alien guards patrolling the perimeter. 2 sentries outside, likely more inside. 5 heat signatures detected, whispered Sergeant Hyun through their neural communication link. The technology had been experimental before they entered cryostasis, but now functioned flawlessly, allowing them to share thoughts without sound. 3 inside the main structure, 2 patrolling, Hyun continued. Her enhanced senses were the most developed among them, able to detect heartbeats from a kilometer away. Corporal Mina touched the ground, letting her specialized nervous system analyze the vibrations. They've installed subsurface sensors, but they're calibrated for standard human weight distribution. If we time our movements with their automated sweep cycles, they won't detect us. June nodded and split the team with hand signals. He and Mina would approach from the east, while Hyun and the others would circle to the west. Their mission was simple: gather intelligence, collect technology samples, and leave no evidence of human presence. They waited for the security sweep to pass, then moved. June's enhanced muscles propelled him forward in bursts of speed that would have been impossible for an unmodified human. He crossed 50 meters in seconds, then froze in perfect stillness as the scanner swept past again. The first Caldari guard never sensed danger. June approached from behind, his footsteps perfectly synchronized with the alien zone to mask the sound. One quick motion, precise pressure applied to specific nerve clusters on the four-armed being, and the guard fell unconscious. "East sentry neutralized," June communicated. "West clear," came Hyun's response. Mina reached the structure first, her enhanced hands touching the alien metal. Her skin absorbed information about the material composition while her enhanced eyes traced the electronic systems within. Security panel identified. Accessing. Before the enhancements, Mina had been the chamber's top technical specialist. Now, with her nervous system directly interfacing with technology, she was something else entirely. Her fingers moved across the alien panel, somehow understanding the patterns. The door slid open silently. Inside, the 3 remaining Caldari worked at stations monitoring atmospheric conditions and communications. They didn't expect an attack, why would they? Human resistance had been crushed years ago. The team moved with perfect coordination.
3 silent takedowns, completed in less than 10 seconds. Secure the site, June ordered as he examined the control room.
The alien technology was advanced but understandable. Captain Kim had been right, the Caldari were overconfident.
Their systems lacked the security measures a cautious species would employ. Hyun stood guard while Mina connected directly to the main terminal.
Information flowed through her enhanced brain faster than she could verbalize.
I'm accessing their network, she communicated. They're pulling atmospheric samples, tracking weather patterns. They're terraforming Earth.
June examined the unconscious aliens. The Caldari were tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms that moved with unsettling precision.
But they weren't invincible.
Their breathing masks indicated they struggled with Earth's oxygen levels.
Download everything, he ordered.
Patrol schedules, communication protocols, base locations. While Mina worked, the others gathered samples of Caldari technology, weapons, communication devices, and personal equipment.
Each item was carefully documented for the Chamber's research teams to analyze. We need to move. Their check-in is due in 10 minutes, Hyun warned. June nodded. Prepare for extraction.
They worked quickly, erasing all evidence of their presence. The Caldari would wake with headaches, perhaps believing they had been exposed to something in Earth's atmosphere.
Nothing would suggest humans had been there.
As they prepared to leave, Mina made one final connection to the system.
Leaving a surprise, she communicated.
She implanted a subtle code error that would cause minor malfunctions in their reporting systems, nothing obvious, just enough to create confusion. The team vanished into the night as silently as they had arrived.
5 kilometers from the outpost, they rendezvoused at their extraction point where an advanced stealth vehicle, another chamber creation, waited beneath the snow.
Back at the chamber, Captain Sujin Kim reviewed their findings with growing confidence.
The data revealed Caldari weaknesses their enhanced soldiers could exploit. Oxygen sensitivity. Communication vulnerabilities.
Predictable patrol patterns.
Perfect execution, she told June's team. No alerts were triggered. On the main screen, a map displayed thousands of Caldari outposts across the planet.
Sujin marked the one they had just infiltrated with a small green dot.
One down, she said. We start with the outposts, gather intelligence, and build our understanding of their operations. Then we move to larger facilities.
Across the chamber, more soldiers prepared for missions. Teams were assembled based on their specific enhancements, some specialized in strength, others in stealth or technical capabilities.
They believe humans are extinct, Sujin told her officers. Let them keep believing that while we become their ghosts.
The chamber's central command room hummed with activity as Captain Sujin Kim studied the holographic map displaying their global progress. 3 months had passed since the first reconnaissance mission, and the green dots marking successful operations now numbered in the hundreds. Each represented a small victory: a Caldari outpost infiltrated, a communication relay disabled, an alien patrol silently eliminated. Team Frost has secured the Moscow facility, reported Major Duhyun, adding another green marker to the Eastern European sector. Team River completed extraction from Sydney with the communication array intact. Sujin nodded, her enhanced eyes quickly processing the tactical information. What had begun as isolated strikes had evolved into a coordinated global campaign. The Chamber's 500 super soldiers now operated in teams across all continents, leaving confusion and disruption in their wake. The Caldari are starting to connect the incidents, said Lieutenant Min, the intelligence officer. His neural enhancements allowed him to process vast amounts of data simultaneously. They've increased security at major installations and changed patrol patterns.
But they still don't know what they're fighting, Sujin replied. Their reports mention system malfunctions, environmental anomalies, equipment failures. They blame Earth's atmosphere, not human resistance. The room fell silent as the main screen flickered to life with an intercepted Caldari transmission. Their translation systems had improved significantly since capturing alien language databases. A high-ranking Caldari commander appeared, all 4 arms gesturing in agitation as he addressed someone off-screen. The incidents cannot be coincidental. 3 major facilities lost in the same day?
The extraction site in the human city called Paris, completely destroyed with no warning.
The security feeds show nothing.
The response came from a deeper voice, presumably a superior. Your fears of human survivors are unfounded. Our purge was thorough.
These are technical issues, nothing more.
Then explain the missing patrols, the commander insisted.
Explain the footprints our sensors detected before the Moscow base went dark.
Su-Jin smiled slightly. The fear was spreading among their occupiers, just as planned. Captain, Major Duhyun interrupted her thoughts. The orbital sensors have detected approaching vessels.
Caldari reinforcements, likely responding to the distress signals. The map zoomed out to show several large ships entering Earth's orbit.
The Caldari were finally taking the threat seriously.
How long until they land?
Su-Jin asked. 48 hours, based on their descent patterns.
Su-Jin's enhanced mind calculated quickly. They couldn't allow reinforcements to strengthen the occupation.
The time for small strikes had ended. We accelerate the timeline, she announced to her officers.
Initiate Operation Tsunami. The name wasn't chosen randomly.
Their strategy would mirror nature's most unstoppable force, a wave that began almost imperceptibly in the open ocean before rising to devastating height at the shore.
Within hours, all chamber teams were briefed and deployed. The stealth approach that had defined their early operations was abandoned.
Now they would strike openly, with force. In former Beijing, Sergeant Jiho led his team directly into a Caldari processing center.
Their enhanced speed made them appear almost as blurs to the alien guards.
The weapons they carried, reverse-engineered from captured Caldari technology, cut through alien defenses with surgical precision. Facility secured, Jiho reported as his team freed 300 human prisoners from the processing chambers.
Moving to extraction point. Similar reports flooded in from across the globe.
In what had once been Rio de Janeiro, Lieutenant Jun's team captured an entire Caldari command center in less than 15 minutes. In Cairo, Corporal Mina disabled the atmospheric processors the aliens had installed to modify Earth's air composition. The Caldari response was chaotic. Accustomed to crushing conventional resistance, they had no experience fighting an enemy they could barely see, who knew their systems intimately, and who could match their technology. In the former UN headquarters in New York, Su-Jin personally led the assault on the regional Caldari governor's office. Her enhanced body moved with impossible speed, dodging energy blasts that would have vaporized normal humans. The kinetic amplifiers in her limbs multiplied her strength, allowing her to tear through barriers designed to withstand explosives. The governor is secured, she reported as her team subdued the alien leader.
Beginning data extraction. The governor, a 7-foot Caldari with ceremonial markings, stared at Su-Jin with multiple eyes widening in disbelief.
Humans, he whispered through his translator.
Impossible.
You should have made sure we were extinct, Su-Jin replied calmly as she connected Mina's neural interface to the governor's systems.
Instead, you gave us time to evolve. Back at the chamber, the holographic map transformed as reports continued to pour in.
Red markers indicating Caldari strongholds turned green one after another. The incoming reinforcement ships adjusted their trajectory, some breaking off toward orbit rather than continuing their descent.
Major Duhyun approached Su-Jin when she returned, his face showing rare emotion. The plan is working. The Caldari are retreating from secondary bases to fortify their main headquarters. Su-Jin nodded.
Then we prepare for the final phase.
While they concentrate their forces, we'll strike at their command structure. The head of the snake.
The chamber buzzed with preparation as teams returned for resupply and redeployment.
The tide wasn't just rising, it was becoming a tsunami that would wash away the invaders who had thought humanity defeated. The ancient city of Beijing, once home to over 20 million humans, now stood as the central command for the Caldari occupation. The aliens had transformed the former Forbidden City into their planetary headquarters, surrounding it with energy shields and weapon systems that could target any approach. Captain Su-Jin Kim observed the compound from 5 kilometers away, her enhanced vision penetrating the morning mist. Beside her, 20 of the chamber's most elite soldiers waited in perfect stillness.
Each had been selected for their specific abilities, Junho with his unmatched strength, Mina with her technical interface capabilities, Taewon with his tactical analysis enhancements.
Final reports confirm the Caldari have consolidated 70% of their remaining forces here, Sujin said.
Their reinforcement vessels have taken up defensive positions in orbit.
They're scared, Junho remarked, checking his weapons.
The team carried advanced rifles reverse-engineered from Caldari technology but modified to work with their enhanced reflexes.
Sujin nodded. They should be.
Their synchronized attack began precisely at dawn. Teams positioned around the perimeter activated electromagnetic pulse devices, another technology they had adapted from captured alien equipment. The pulses were calibrated to the specific frequency of Caldari shields, creating momentary gaps rather than complete failures. To the aliens monitoring their systems, it would appear as minor fluctuations, not a coordinated assault.
Sujin's team moved through these invisible gaps with perfect timing. Their enhanced muscles propelled them over barriers and through narrow openings faster than the Caldari sensors could process.
Within minutes, they had penetrated the outer perimeter without triggering alarms. Inside the compound, the real challenge began. Caldari guards patrolled in groups of 4, their 4-armed bodies carrying multiple weapons. Sujin signaled her team to split into smaller units. They would converge on the central command building from different approaches.
Mina's group reached the communication center first.
Her fingers connected directly to the alien interface, her enhanced nervous system bypassing security protocols. Within seconds, she had control of the internal monitoring systems. All cameras on loops, she reported through their neural link.
Security alerts disabled. Across the compound, Junho's team encountered the first resistance.
6 Caldari soldiers spotted them crossing an open courtyard. Energy weapons fired, the blasts powerful enough to vaporize concrete, but Junho's team moved faster than the weapons could track.
They closed the distance in seconds, engaging the aliens in close combat where their enhanced strength gave them the advantage. Resistance eliminated, Junho reported calmly. Proceeding to extraction point Alpha.
The extraction points weren't for the super soldiers, they were for the humans they found huddled in containment cells throughout the compound. Hundreds of captives, kept alive for Caldari experiments or manual labor, looked up in shock as their cells opened and humans in combat gear appeared. "You're safe now," Taewon told a group of emaciated prisoners as his team escorted them to secure areas.
"We're taking back our world." Sujin's primary team pushed toward the central command building.
As they approached, they encountered increasingly desperate resistance. The Caldari finally understood what was happening, but their response was disorganized. They had never prepared for this scenario, humans who could match their technology and exceed their physical capabilities. The governor's chamber lay at the heart of the complex, behind massive doors designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Sujin placed shaped charges at precise structural points while her team held off the reinforcements flooding the corridor.
The doors blew inward with a deafening boom.
Through the smoke, Sujin led her team into the ornate room where the Caldari Supreme Governor stood surrounded by his elite guards. The governor was taller than the others, his blue-gray skin adorned with ceremonial markings.
All 4 of his arms held weapons pointed at the intruders.
"Impossible," he said through his translator.
"Your species was eliminated."
"You missed some," Sujin replied simply. The fight was brief but intense. The governor's guards were the best the Caldari had, but they faced something they couldn't comprehend: humans who moved like blurs, who anticipated their attacks, who seemed to know their weaknesses intimately. When it ended, Sujin stood before the governor, who dropped to his knees, weapons clattering to the floor.
"How?" he asked. "How did you survive? How did you become this?" Sujin didn't answer.
Instead, she activated the communication system the governor had used to address his forces. With Mina's help, they boosted the signal to reach the Caldari ships in orbit. "This message is for the Caldari Collective," Sujin announced. "Your occupation of Earth is over.
Your forces are defeated.
Your governor has surrendered.
Leave our system immediately and do not return.
Earth is now and forever off limits to your species." She ended the transmission and turned to Mina. Send the evidence package to their command ships. The evidence package contained footage of their victories across the planet, super soldiers moving faster than Caldari weapons could target, tearing through their best defenses, defeating their elite forces.
A clear message: humans were not worth fighting anymore.
As they secured the facility, reports flooded in from around the globe.
The remaining Caldari outposts were surrendering or being abandoned as transport ships rushed to evacuate.
In the following days, as the alien ships disappeared from Earth's skies, the true scope of their victory became clear. Hidden human survivors emerged from underground bunkers and remote wilderness areas. Some had been hiding for years, forming resistance cells that had been too small for the Caldari to bother hunting. 1 month after the Beijing assault, Sujin stood on the roof of the chamber facility, watching the Arctic sunrise. Major Duhyun joined her, carrying a tablet with the latest reports.
Human population estimate now exceeds 50,000, he said. And growing as more survivors make contact. Sujin nodded. And the deeper space scans? Confirmed. There are human colony ships that escaped during the initial invasion. At least 3, possibly more. They're receiving our signals now.
Sujin looked across the ice fields, her enhanced vision picking out the distant shapes of new construction, the beginnings of humanity's rebuild.
Then we have work to do, she said. A world to rebuild. And defenses to prepare.
Because next time she turned to face Duhyun, her expression resolute, we'll be ready.